r/askreddit, who is undoubtedly the most dangerous person you know. I once called my teacher a bad word. How does that even start? Like, what's the catalyst that sends you down the road where, not only will you abuse children, but you'll start a whole ring? As both a cop and a pedo, he is probably not having fun in prison, which makes me happy. Wow. My neighbor Frank is from Sicily. He smokes in the supermarket, drives like a nutcase, can swear in 3 languages. He's 80 years old and he was drinking limoncello on his roof this morning. One of my favorite people. Sounds like inspiration for old man Henderson. Either the guy who got busted diddling preschoolers or the guy who tried to kidnap a high school girl at gunpoint because she called him creepy while he was high on something. Good way to prove that he isn't a creep. Gary from work. Guy is a nutcase. I may not know who Gary is, but I've heard some bad things about him. My mom has totaled around 5 cars. She's a terrible driver, shouldn't even be on the road. If she's driving, he'll say he'll take my car and meet you there. Gary here, I'd like to chime in saying Jerry is 3x as bad as me. Everyone shut up, he's coming. Guy's a fucking nut. Gary sold me his piss by convincing it's petrol. My granddad, when he was alive. He was a sweet, humble old man who loved gardening, but oh my god, I do not know who allowed him to keep driving. He was 84 with arthritis, plus he was deaf and almost blind, but he insisted on still driving. One time he parked his car on a tram track with my sister inside it. He is the sole reason I think there should be an age limit on driving licenses. Is your sister okay? Me. I single-handedly have the power to completely upend my life at a moment's notice and run it into the ground. There isn't a single other person in the world that can do that. Kid named Nuke. And GT, there isn't a single other person in the world that can do that. Nonsense. Anyone who lives reasonably near you could run you down with a car, stab you in the spine with a kitchen knife, or give you life-changing injuries to your brain and face with a long, heavy, blunt object. Probably my best friend in high school, though he's more of a danger to himself than anyone else. My mother wrecked 2 of my dad's sporty cars before I was even born. She almost died one time, this was before airbags and crumple zones and all that good stuff. By the time I came around, she just didn't drive anymore. I think she might have been one of those people who falls asleep at the wheel. I work with a shitty doctor. He seems kinda dangerous. Reminds me of the old joke, what do you call the person who graduates last of their class in med school? Doctor. My dad eats mushrooms from his backyard, and hoses out his toaster and hangs it by the cord on the washing line to dry. These events are probably connected. My work boss can fire me any minute if I fuck up once, bruh. But only you can shit on the hood of his car after. In the 80s, my father knew a family of brothers, they were well-connected people. The oldest didn't trust banks and only used cash, rolls of notes as thick as your wrist. As a kid I got stuff for Christmas that fell of the back of a truck, new bikes, etc. If a car was stolen, it could easily be stripped for parts in hours, as one brother owned a scrap yard. My dad worked with them regularly and always got paid well, but never said too much about the work. The 7-foot shadow man that periodically stands in my doorframe at night seems pretty iffy, to be honest. I have a similar shadow man. If he's inflatable and amp, flails around wackily, we may be living beside the same haunted car dealership. Deleted. He just wants to talk about your car's extended warranty. Do not engage him. Does he wear a hat? Sociopaths in my former workplace. Trail of destroyed careers and lives in their wake. As one of them likes to say, namaste. Or as I like to say, fuck all yeah. I got close with a person I met for an online hookup. After 6 months he opens up to me about how he has multiple murderous thoughts and he's in therapy for it. Told me how he used poisons in very creative ways on his bullies and got them extremely sick. I thanked him for opening up to me, then slowly got too busy to hang out anymore. My brother-in-law. He's a chronic alcoholic with a narcissistic personality and violent tendencies. He has assaulted each of his siblings and sexually assaulted his ex-wife and little sister. He's been enabled and taught to be a victim his whole life. I'm terrified of him, but he's someone you never want to show fear or weakness. Or me. I've fucked up my own life a few times. My BFS mother drives drunk all the time, so gonna go with her. Not as direct as many comments here, but I was briefly in business with a former high-ranking politician in my country. They weren't particularly malicious, but their arrogance and narcissism was matched only by their incompetence. It was terrifying that someone who I wouldn't trust to wipe their own ass used to play a significant role in running a G20 country. I know everyone thinks politicians are morons, but this was first-hand evidence of how fucked we must all be. My ex-boyfriend. O keeper of the lore of mighty dad, bestow upon us a tale of dad's past transgressions. A former boyfriend who was kicked out of the Mossad for enjoying his work too much. Kicked out meaning put into a more secret unit we officially don't know about. Babies in that stage of crawling and almost walking. Those nutcases try to eat electricity. My second cousin. He's in his 60s now, quiet family man, really pleasant guy, doesn't say much. He's also built like a brick shit house, and was an active member of a particularly nasty gang in NZ for a long time. He left that gang the hard way. Well, Danger is my middle name, so. Pronounced Donger. Guy I used to hang out with in high school, and a couple years after, wound up killing his mom last October/November but trying to cut off her head. He did it in front of his two youngest siblings who were about 6 and 4. People in the military who have promoted way past their level of competence, who are then in charge in combat situations. Nothing worse than being under fire and realizing the guy in charge hasn't got a fucking clue. What are you in for? Everything. My father. A wife-beating criminal, cocaine addict, full of steroids and anger issues. He showed up at my little sister's house last January and threatened her for money. But the dangerous part is that he's scary smart. Gotta give credit where credit is due, that guy is not stupid, and that's what makes him all the more dangerous. There's very few people I'm genuinely afraid of, but he's one of them. You don't have to give credit. Guy sounds like a piece of shit. Former high school classmate who became a cop and started a pedophilia ring, eventually crossing multiple state lines and trading services for video game systems, all while abusing neighborhood children. May he rot in the federal penitentiary that currently houses his nasty ass.